On today's episode of Think Outside the Boss, we have the extraordinary gift of Mary Miller. Mary is a visionary CEO and founder of The Dream Engineer. The Dream Engineer is a program that she implemented in the cleaning company Jan-Coa, and it was written about in the Dream Manager book by Matthew Kelly. So Mary and her husband Tony successfully revitalized Jan-Coa, a modest mom and pop commercial cleaning company, into a remarkable business venture here in Cincinnati. They revolutionized personal development on a global scale through the Dream program and simply by asking their employees, what are your dreams? What dreams do you want to achieve? Now, you've got to listen to this stat. So, they have achieved an unprecedented 300% reduction in turnover within the commercial cleaning industry. So, not just their company, within the industry, they reduced turnover by 300%, and they secured an impressive 85% market share in their region. This is like incredible stats. And Mary now devotes her time to family and community. She ignites a sense of joy and excitement about the future and is the most encouraging individual I have ever met. So, with no further ado, I welcome to the program Mary Miller.
Thank you so much, Katie. I appreciate your kind words. And it's
Uh,
always
th-
a pleasure to have a conversation with you.
Oh, always. We're not over lunch right now, but we'll just pretend that we're sipping iced tea in the sunshine. So I started off the podcast with the same question, and it's what was the moment that you really knew that you were a leader?
Think that when it really sunk in, and it took me a little bit because Tony had already had Jan-Coa for 20 years, just talking about the leadership role at Jan-Coa, because I joined him and together we were working on making this mom and pop cleaning company something of value. And I hired a consultant to help us. Tony didn't know what I was up to, so I had him come in, and it was a 5-day contract. The end of the first day, we met up, and he told me that he couldn't help us. He fired us. And I didn't know that was an option, that you can pay somebody to be a consultant and they could fire you. He said there was no way he could help me. He said that we had a people problem, and it wasn't that our people were a problem. We just didn't have enough people, which so many people can align themselves with today. But this was back in 1997. And today, a lot of people feel the pain that we were going through back in 97. Because one of those things, people think anybody can clean, and nobody really wants that job to clean toilets and mop floors. So it was something that we needed to take care of and to be able to change. And Tony thought we just needed to hire more people. And we used to hire a lot of people. And we did background checks and drug testing and different things to make sure our customers are getting good quality people. But that was when I remember clearly stepping up and saying, now, stop, hold the bus. We need to really seriously change direction and do things differently. We need to change the questions. And I think that's what all great bosses or leaders do. They change the questions if they're not getting the results that they want. We had been asking for years, where do we find people? Where do we find people? Let's go find people. Instead of changing that gear and saying, what do we have to do to attract the people who want to work in our industry that they choose us? How can we create an environment that makes it good for them and us and our customer? I love win-win-win situations. And that's when things really shifted.
So give us some perspective on the company. Like how many employees did you have at the
Ah,
time?
at the
What was the
time
turnover like?
at the time it was a little over 100 employees, and we were over 30 people short every night. We had already switched
Oh,
to
wow.
full-time employees because we wanted to have benefits available. We were already trying to do things that would attract people to want to work for us versus our competitors. Back in the day in the 90s, there was this thing called the Yellow Pages.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you could
Yep.
sit, open it up, and read the names of all your competitors. And there
Totally.
were 104 cleaning companies in Cincinnati. Why choose us?
Yeah.
So I think that that's a really important piece for any leader or boss is to realize there's competition out there. There's other
Mhm.
people vying for our people. So why would
Mhm.
they want to work for you? How can it be a win-win-win situation so that
Yeah.
everybody benefits?
And you guys, Jan-Coa is a commercial cleaning company for those who aren't familiar
Yes,
with
it
it.
is.
And so you
And
as
today,
business
you were
owners.
talking about we 120 employees. Today, they're edging towards 600 full-time employees.
Wow.
So it as in our turnover is 300% better than the industry average. And I still keep saying we, but we actually sold the business to the second generation back in 2022, the year Jan-Coa turned 50 years old.
You can take Mary out of Jan-Coa, but you can't take Jan-Coa out of Mary.
No, afraid not.
No, that's incredible. Turnover is it's just an ongoing problem. It's always been a problem. It's always been a big part of conversation. I spent a lot of time in the cleaning industry as well, but it was on the product side and I led the restaurant business when I was at P&G. We would hear the stats of 150% turnover or 200% turnover. And then I went into the restaurants and we would help them like clean. Like this was my glamorous corporate job. We were like cleaning fryers at midnight. But when I was in those restaurants, like working through some of the programs with them or teaching them like the how to use the products, I felt those, like I experienced those turnover numbers in real time where I think the longest tenured employee in that fast food restaurant at the time was like 6 weeks. It was like 6 weeks, maybe 2 months. And so then you have people there like, well, this is my first day and this and that. And so it's one thing to quote all of those numbers on turnover, but then when you're living it as the client or as the business owner like you were, it's a totally mind-boggling experience of you're constantly hiring, you're constantly training, and it's just this never-ending spiral.
So you can't work on processes. You can't work on relationships. There's all these things you can't do when that revolving door is going so fast. So that was our first step. The only way we could do better to take care of our customers, to build a stronger company, to have great processes and systems is to fix that turnover problem. We had done a really good job. Tony always knew. He started the business when he was 19. I joined him when the business was 20 years old, and then we spent 30 years running hard to grow it and to create a great business that could be modeled. And we decided to do what we had done for our customers to help eliminate their dangers that made their job difficult, to help them capture opportunities while maximizing the strengths that they had with who they were, because who we were dealing with and who wrote us the check, basically. So we wanted to create like the balance, justice balance. We wanted to do the same thing for our employees. How could we help eliminate their obstacles? People don't dream of being a janitor. There's a lot of jobs out there that are not on anybody's dream list. But if you create an environment that will help them improve their quality of life for them individually and for their family members, that makes a difference and it creates a connection and a loyalty that you cannot underestimate or displace. And that's made a huge difference for us, and it still does.
From when you got fired by that consultant, you're like, "Well, I guess it's up to me." Like, till you were like, "Hey, I think we have the solution for this," and you were, like, seeing results. Was that a couple months, a couple years? Like, how long did it take? And then what were some of those big steps that you took?
The steps that we took, anybody could take, whatever industry you're in. Is when you look at your biggest obstacles, which we have found over the years, that's where the biggest opportunities lie. Because most our competitors try to avoid those obstacles. And that's the
Yeah.
difference a leader has is you go to it and find a way through it to eliminate that obstacle and capture that opportunity on the other side. So what we did is we took a list, we looked and said, okay, and we talked with some of our key team members. We didn't try to do all this on our own. Who
Right.
are the top 10 employees we have that if we could replace them, if we could clone them and duplicate them, we
Yeah.
would, right? We all have a core, those type of employees that we want to do that with. And
Mhm.
what did they have in common? So we made a list and we looked through it, and the number one thing they had in common was transportation issues, which transportation's an
Ah.
issue for so many people in so many communities all over the
Mm.
place, right? It's not
Mhm.
just a Cincinnati issue. When we figured out it was a transportation issue and that our managers at night were spending most of their time, I'm talking like 70, 80% of their time moving people from one building to the next as they finished cleaning one building to go to another because there weren't enough people to do all the square footage that we had. So Tony, on when we figured that out on Sunday, it was a great light bulb aha moment. Monday morning, Tony went out and bought a 15-passenger van, stopped at a sign painting store and had it signed. Jan-Coa employee shuttle, brought it to the office, and went in and told our general manager at the time, I figured out how to fix our problem. She just looked at him and said, which one? Like the people, that was the only problem we had. And he
Right.
says, look out your window. And she saw the van. He said, we're going to pick people up at their home, take them to work, and take them home afterwards. Being
Yeah.
full-time employees, it was a little bit easier to do that, except you're talking 6 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. So
Yeah.
now we have a new issue. Who's going to drive this magic van she referred to it as? So Tony said, I'll drive it until we get this figured out. I'll drive it. So
Yeah.
that was a gift we didn't even know was a gift, because within just a few days, Tony wasn't the boss. He was the shuttle driver. He was the person
Yeah.
picking them up, taking to work, and he became invisible. So he saw where people lived. He heard them
Mm.
talking about their obstacles and what was going on in their lives. He was able to connect with people in a way that he never had before because it changed the dynamics. It wasn't he was
Yeah.
the boss and they weren't trying to impress him. They were just being themselves trying to get to work. And
Right.
within a couple of months, our our HR department was absolutely we ended up with very few openings. You're always gonna have openings because in our industry, people are always gonna realize after 8 hours with a backpack on or mopping the floor or cleaning the toilets, this isn't the way I wanna spend my time."
Right.
But when there's an opportunity to improve the quality of life and have a consistent good paycheck with benefits, that's
Mhm.
worthwhile doing the hard work.
Yeah.
But we have to do the hard work as the leader and the boss because they don't know what they don't know. And we have to ask different questions to figure out how we can help them improve the quality of life, achieve the goals of the company, and take care of the customer.
So I love that. Like the first thing that you did was like, well, let's talk to our employees. Who are the people that we would like to clone? And then you looked for the patterns within them of and not just they're always on time or they're always this or they're always that. Then you're like pulling this thread and I can see the unraveling of all of it. So then how did you get from that to the Dream Engineer program?
Well, once we figured out that was an issue, and with Tony taking them to work, he discovered that the quality of life and where they lived was in bad neighborhoods or falling apart apartments or some issue. And back in the 90s, there was a lot of first-time homeowners programs, and we got this idea, let's help them with their housing. Let's help find a way, which is always a conversation. It's still a major conversation within the county and the city here locally in Cincinnati. And we partnered with a good friend of ours, and we start finding ways to help them buy homes. We partnered with one of our customers that was a mortgage company that had a mortgage branch and with the local homeowners association. And we helped people get homes, and it was crazy. Within 18 months, I think we helped something like 45 families get into new and different housing. And so many were first generation homeowners. Some people that they were said they didn't think they were the type of people that could own a home. See, people stop dreaming because of the obstacles in the way because they don't know how to do it differently. All is human nature. We go by our experience and what we know because we don't know who to ask or what to ask.
Right. And if you haven't seen someone live in a different way, you don't even know that it's possible sometimes, much less how to get there. It's like you're at the bottom rung of the ladder and you see the top rung, but you don't see anything in between.
Because
And
the
so it
obstacles are
feels,
so scary and so big.
yeah,
It prevents
yeah.
us from moving forward. And sometimes it's when the pain becomes stronger than the frustration, that's when often we're ready to move and do something different. And
Mhm,
when somebody's there to hold our hand, we weren't there to make their dreams come true. I mean, in the first part of the Dream Manager, it's a business pair. We didn't want the book about us. It's changed many lives around the world because Matthew's a fabulous storyteller and he took our stories and wove his experience and just created a beautiful book. And in the second half, it's how you can create this in your own life, whether it's personal or in business, because it really isn't as difficult as it seems. But we have to start being willing to move forward and doing things differently. Because if we keep
mhm.
doing things the same way, we keep getting the same results. And that makes a
Yes.
huge difference. So it was funny, once we start helping people with homes, then I had one team member who told me he always wanted to learn to play the guitar. But he just didn't he's not a group person, he was very much an introvert. He said, "Mary, I kept hearing all these stories of people getting houses and learning how to speak English or Spanish or different things that were improving people's lives." He said, "I went out," and this was before computerization is what it is today. He went out and bought a guitar and bought a book and started teaching himself how to play guitars. 'Cause this is the
Ah,
magic when the
yeah.
people start moving forward, other people will come along and go after
Mhm.
their dreams and make their life bigger and better. And it makes a
Yeah.
difference to the energy, to the results. Jan-Coas start growing. People realize we just didn't talk about taking care of our people. We were really doing it. We did create for the first several years, Dream Engineer was in a separate facility because
Mhm.
nobody would believe a company would do that for their employees. So we
Yeah.
created a
Mhm,
separate, as we built stories in that, then we start bringing it into the building. And
mhm,
today, Jan-Coa is set up in a way where they train their supervisors and managers to have these kind of conversations with their teams so they can
mhm,
gel and work together stronger and help make things better. We don't
mhm.
don't have a separate person labeled dream engineer. When you get close to 600 people, that becomes almost unmanageable. So it's
Right.
got to be built into the system.
Yep, it can't be a one-off.
Yeah.
I know there's, like, leaders listening to this now, and they're like, "Well, that sounds great."
True.
Right? They're like, "Good for you, Mary." But they're still they don't see a way out of the spiral right now, and what are some steps that they can take? How can they think differently about the spiral of hiring, firing, and retaining people? How can they think about that in a different way?
I think the first step is this is gonna sound really bad, Katie, but the honest truth is, going from my own experience, you gotta stop being the victim. None of us are victims. We're all victors. We got positions because of how hard we work, with our willingness to learn, to try, to do things differently, and this is just another one that feels super uncomfortable because it has a humanity part component in it. And it's and people will resist you. People didn't believe what we were doing for a really long time. And I was so determined. People knew there was no way. People at Janco and my family, it's a family business. Family always doubts family. I wasn't going to give up on that. That was something, and that's why I'm still doing it. I'm what almost 3 years into retirement, and that's my life is talking and getting people excited about their future. And the questions is, what's the obstacle? Well, our obstacle was not being able to get the buildings cleaned properly, not to be able to grow, and not be able to keep the good people because they were being frustrated over having to do all the work themselves.
Mhm.
So then you break it down. It's that old saying, what's the best way to eat an elephant? One bite at
One
a
bite at a
time.
time.
Don't try to take the whole thing at once. Break it down. Make a list of the obstacles, and then one by one, what's one thing you can do that will move that in a direction to make it better? And
Mhm.
it could just be one thing could be having a conversation. We all have team members that we know are these leaders that other people listen to. The boss is I call it deaf mom syndrome because as kids
So
never listen to
relatable.
their mom, but their best friend's mom is the smartest woman they know, and she's saying the same thing.
True.
It's the same way
100%.
with work. We're humans.
Mhm.
And so it's we have some sometimes having somebody from Peoplefluence come in to talk to
Mhm.
the team members and ask questions. People sometimes have a tendency they'll share with you more than they would the boss because they want
Yeah,
to look good in the boss's eyes. And that was
absolutely.
one of our obstacles early on. They didn't want to look bad to us. They wanted us to believe they were the best thing since sliced bread,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So
which
it's
is
important
totally
that we
natural.
create it in a way that we don't put our team members in a corner and prevent them from growing and being honest about how they feel, but are able to communicate. And sometimes you have to do baby steps. It
Yeah,
doesn't happen overnight.
yeah. Even
And
if
if
you do have a big vision, it's still you can't implement it all at once.
no, and you can't do it by yourself. We need
Yeah,
great team members. And the team
yeah.
members need to feel heard and valued, acknowledged.
Mhm. Now you've talked a lot about how people didn't believe what you guys were doing, like even your family. I grew up in a family business. I totally get it. I get it. But what about the employees themselves? Like when you started rolling it out, I mean, I had to think there'd be some doubt or
Oh, yeah.
skepticism.
There always is. I have a friend who was a business owner, and we were talking about the program one day, and she said, "You don't understand. My team, they're well educated in this. They're very skeptical." I said, "You think uneducated people aren't skeptical?" I mean, seriously, human nature, we're
Mhm.
skeptical. So what
Yeah.
we did is we grabbed hold of a few people that showed interest and curiosity and
Mhm.
helped them. We basically kinda held their hands and guided them through getting the steps done and that so other people could see, and we would just be consistent. I
Mhm.
think that's one of the top things we can do as leaders is be consistent. If we keep
Mhm.
trying things and changing direction without seeing anything through, it's like, "Oh god, what are they gonna do
Yeah.
now? How long is this
Right.
gonna last?"
Flavor of
Because
the month.
we've changed so many times. And
Mhm.
I had that with a corporation experience from my background. They never stuck with any new idea long enough for it to stick.
Yeah, and so when the new idea is rolled out, that's then the employees are like, "Great, well, I'll just wait it out till
Exactly.
till the next one comes along, and then
Yep.
I'll wait that one out too," unless someone really, like, believes in it, but yeah, that flavor of the month
Yeah.
style, it in parenting and in leadership, it's the same thing.
It is. It is.
It yeah, it really erodes the trust in a way that most people don't realize and think about, so
Right. So,
yeah.
like, we did that shuttle thing for a long time until people were talking among themselves, and all of a sudden, somebody put out there that we were profiting off of this. Well,
Huh,
businesses are made to profit. That's how they stay in business and afford payroll and benefits and everything else. But that was a cost. And we
yeah.
were not a specialist in the transportation industry. We've discovered that very early on.
Routing and
Oh my golly. And there again, before computerization and stuff there is today. So it was very difficult, but we stuck with it for a long time. And enough
Mhm,
where our turnover decreased. We started attracting more people because we helped them get to work and help them get home.
mhm.
And I was actually on the board for the local bus and helped with the process to get 7 bus lines that ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that didn't
Yeah.
just help Jan-Coa, that helped a lot of other service industries to be able
Mhm.
to get their people to work and home.
If we have cars, we don't think about what it's like to not have a car. And in a country like the US is not built on public transportation. Outside of New York or San Francisco, there's some cities, but it's not like Europe where there's trains and rails and to get around. And so if you can't afford your own car and the gas and the insurance and all the things that come with it, you're really stuck with the bus system, which could take 2 hours to go 10 miles. Or, yeah. And imagine too, because like I worked with this or I encountered this issue at Changing Gears, where parents, it's like running errands. You've got all your kids, you've got groceries, and transportation is just a huge barrier to sustainable employment. So I love how you solved that. Like that was the first thing that came up was transportation. So you just solved that problem first.
Yep. And then the
And
housing,
yep.
and then different obstacles as far as knowledge. We start doing it, and it kept growing. We had one team member whose wife called our office, and she said, "My husband doesn't want to go to these meetings or do anything, but I want a new house. Can I come to the meetings?" So I said, sure. So we opened it up to not just team members, but their families.
So
And so it became a real celebration.
what was happening in the meetings?
The meetings, we had 2 people, they scheduled it. I found, in my experience, that having a meeting one-on-one with somebody about their dreams was a lot of pressure on the dreamer, because it's like
Yeah.
the life happens and you don't always get your list done and everything else. But when you have monthly meetings, like some companies, some groups of people that I know created like the first Wednesday of the month, the lunch and learn. And people would
Mhm.
bring their lunch and sit around and talk about their dreams, and they would rotate who's running the meeting, very similar to the AA format. And,
Yeah.
people would just talk about it and get an idea. I was speaking to a
Mhm.
group of people once, and we were talking about homes. Okay, what is something that you would love to do about your home that would excite you and get you to, just asking different questions. One person
Yeah.
rose their hand. They said, change my neighbors. Okay, not sure I can do anything about that, but if you can't change your neighbor, what can you do to make it better?
Right.
So again, it's just encouraging and asking different questions and laughing when you need to, not
Maybe
taking
bring them
ourselves too
cookies.
serious. You never know. You never know.
Right. I love that. And then, so you mentioned the transportation program and like this whole program, it was not a profit center for you guys at all. It was
No.
a cost. So again, for the leaders out there listening to this and that are like, well, that's great for you and glad it worked for you. And where they're starting to think, okay, pull themselves out of the victim mindset, but I can't afford to do that. Like our profit margins are really thin. So just give us like a little bit of insight into because I've heard you talk about this before on other podcasts and I was fascinated by it. So share how you guys thought about that and how you thought about cost, because cost isn't always money.
My husband has such a unique way of looking at things. He's always been very interesting. And my favorite conversation was, we were in a meeting in Chicago with about 40 other people, leaders from around the world at this meeting. And somebody says, "So how much is this great program costing you?" And Tony says, "I talked with my accountant and we did spreadsheets and we tried to figure it out. And the biggest thing we could do is it cost about $1 a person." And everybody just, that was it. It was stunned silence. The deal is, turnover is so expensive that when you stop that revolving door and that flow of money going out because of the training that you have, the capturing somebody, bring them in, then the training, then the benefits and all the different stuff, and they leave in less than 30 to 45 days, that's expensive. But when you spend a little bit of money, even if it's you bring the lunch, we used to have guys that would go out and they would bring pizza and Coke, Coke and a smile. And they would have during their breaks or that or lunches and just have conversations with them, and they would talk to each other. There were these 2 day porters. They were having lunch one day along with Joe. And one guy was saying, "I love playing the guitar. I play the guitar all the time, but I'd love to be able to learn how I could really teach and help others because I think more people would want to know." And there's this class at the local university that would be very helpful, but it starts at 4:30 and I don't get off of work till 6. While the other guy, they had split shifts, couple hours difference. He said, "Well, what time would you have to get off to get there in time?" And they worked it out, and for the 6 weeks of the course, they switched. So the guy was able to go. If they weren't having pizza and Coke and conversation, that would never have happened. And you know what happens to teams when they help each other achieve their goals? That's the power of the other. That's why having group conversations, lunch and learns, just having this thing to be able to do it, and then you could bring different people in for lunch and learns. If there's 5 people that are interested in wanting to move out of an apartment and get a house, but what does that mean? Have somebody come in and talk to them about what a budget looks like, about what the process looks like and what you would need. So that makes a huge difference. We don't have to have all the answers. We have to, as leaders, as the boss, we set up the environment to allow conversations to have, to allow creations, connections, and learning. And that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I love that. Like leaders, we don't have to have all the answers. And
No.
that's such a myth
Nobody
that
does. They
right.
pretend they do, but
But your
nobody does.
people know that you don't have the answers, whether
That's
you
true.
can admit it or not. Like your people know.
Well said.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it's just brilliant how like that insight, like, yes, I think we kind of know, like, okay, we're human, we don't have all the answers. But then to like put it in action in a way that like set you're just bringing the right people together and creating that environment and then it'll take care of itself.
Right.
Yeah, like it's so wonderful. So now it's been how many years since Dream Engineer or Dream Manager has been at the
Dream Man, we started doing the program probably officially, we started playing with it around 97, 98. And then the
okay.
beginning of the 2000s is when we made it official separate entity, Dream Engineer. And then the book came out that Matthew wrote in 2007.
Okay.
So and that's been a bestseller. It's in a lot of different languages. I'm not even sure how many anymore. And
Yeah.
it's made a huge difference for a lot of reasons. And it evolves. It evolves for
Mhm.
everybody. Nothing stays the same. So we
Yeah.
have to adjust and grow. And today I know the 3 family members that own and run Jan-Coa today do it in a very different way than Tony and I do. But they own the business. They don't need my permission.
They're
The
like, I
world has changed a whole lot since then too,
yeah.
in the past
So
20 years.
and even like in today's world, burnout is like I'm kind of tired of using the word, but it's like status quo. Like everyone we're all burnout
Isn't
from
part of that
all
an internal job, Katie? Isn't that an internal job? Our expectations is what creates our frustrations. And if we
Yes.
know the job going into it, I think we all, as individuals and human beings, bosses included, we
Mhm.
need to feed ourselves in a way that we're bringing positive energy and possibility to others because
Yes.
that's contagious as much as the negativity. And if we
Yeah.
focus on burnout, that's what everybody's going to feel. And it's really hard to get any results if that's the
Mhm.
focus of the conversation and the feeling mindset.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to break it up, shake it off, find a way to release that frustration and then
Yep.
move on. But we
And
can't
it's the
stay stuck
people
there.
around us too, if we're in that environment or in that culture. So I love that at Jancoa, you guys really focused and you really did change the culture in the environment and asked people about dreaming. And I think that's something that, it combats that burnout mentality of what if? Like, where do I want to go in life? Instead of just submitting to the daily grind of things. And there's always a grind, but it's like, where are you going towards? What is the vision?
If you're not dreaming, you're burnout. When you're just going through the motion, when life consists of getting up in the morning, going to work, coming home, fixing dinner, take care of the kids, watch a TV show, go to bed, and start all over, that you're not doing anything to make life better or fun or different. That that is an internal, that's an individual choice. But when you have somebody dreaming and excitement, and even if they try to resist, if you're consistent at it, you're committed to it, a difference can be held. Your obstacles may be very different than mine were. Anybody that's listening to this podcast, you may have very different goals than what Tony and I had. But if you know what it is and you're doing something to help your team grow and be excited about their lives while they're helping you achieve your dreams to grow your business and your results, it's a win-win. And that creates energy. That doesn't suck energy.
Yeah. Ah, I love it. So well said. I think we're ready to move into the lightning round.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. But the lightning round, I went through this and I kept thinking about it. Multiple answers. We'll see what comes out.
Yeah, sometimes I give the lightning round questions ahead of time to the
Oh,
guests,
these
so
are
it can
such great questions and great thoughts. And
Yes.
yeah, so we'll see what comes to the top.
Yeah. So the first lightning round question that we ask all of our guests is, what is your favorite personality assessment?
So many, so many. My number one I go to is Colby. Colby is
Okay.
your cognitive skills. What naturally moves you into action. There's a lot
Mhm.
of other assessments. I love the two-word purpose. I love Enneagram. I love print. But knowing what moves me into action changed my life. I have to have
Mhm.
enough detail. I'm a fact finder and I'm a quick start. I'm willing to take risk and try new and different things. And that gave me the freedom to be myself, which was Kathy Colby's number one goal with her creating that business.
Ah, wonderful. All right. What is a book that was instrumental in your life?
Yeah, there's many. But
Just one.
the one I have recommended and bought the most is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Okay.
Is keep your word impeccable, never take anything personal, don't ever assume, and always do your best. It
I
sounds
love it.
so simple, and the book is excellent. I recommend getting the audio because Peter Coyote reads it, and he sounds like he's talking directly to you.
Oh, I love it. Yes, we will put links to all that in the show notes too, for sure.
Okay.
Cool. All right. What is some of the best advice you've ever received?
Don't burn bridges. My dad told me that once when I was quitting my first job, and he asked me what I was going to say when I went and talked to this couple that were my bosses. And I told him exactly what I was going to tell him. And he laughed. He says, "You could do that. But burning a bridge never benefits you. You
Yeah.
never know when you need to cross that bridge again."
Yep.
And in my life, in the 50 some years that I worked, so many people have come back into my life from the past. So burning
Mhm.
bridges is no good. Always be respectful and positive and move to where you're supposed to be.
Yes. What is a failure you cherish?
There's a couple big ones, and the consultant firing us was one. But the biggest failure was the year I turned 30. Started with the bankruptcy, followed by my second divorce, followed by unemployment, and then the cherry on the top was an eviction notice on Christmas Eve. I knew I had to do something different. If I want something different, I had to do something different. And I wanted to learn from my past. And I haven't looked back, and I keep moving forward. And I wouldn't be who I am if I hadn't gone through that. It was the greatest gift. That year I
Mhm.
turned 30.
Oh, just a few years ago.
Yeah, more than half a lifetime.
It's true. And now my favorite question.
Oh,
When you were being introduced on stage, because you are a fantastic speaker,
thank you.
what is your walk-on music?
I have two, of course.
Okay.
The number one was Sweet Dreams by the Eurythmics, and I actually danced to that in a ballroom dance
Yes.
competition. Yeah, Sweet Dreams are made of this. Who am I to disagree? And then the other one is Journeys, Don't Stop Believing.
Mhm.
And I've used both of those depending on the audience and that. But yeah, there's a lot of power in songs.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you, Mary. You have been just an absolute gift to the audience. And I really appreciate you sharing. You're always so transparent and honest, and really an example of how I end all of my newsletters, which is keep moving forward, of like, you just learn from your mistakes and just move on from it. And it's really helpful to see. A lot of people say that and they talk it, but you actually live it, and live it in such a real, genuine way and in such a calm demeanor. And so I really appreciate that. And I know everyone listening does too.
Oh,
So,
thank you so much, Katie. I
yeah,
hope everybody has great success, but I know every one of our greatest success came on the other side of a failure.
absolutely. Yeah. I wish it came on the other side of a win, but it doesn't. So we don't learn anything if we're doing it right the first time. Before we go, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to? Anything that we
No,
haven't hit
you
on?
covered the bases very well, Katie.
Cool. And then tell everyone where they can find you and follow you and what you've got going on in life.
Well, you can reach me at mary@dreamengineer.com. That's my email address. I do have a website, dreamengineer.com. I'm
Cool.
on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. And, my life today is a little bit different. My husband, best friend, business partner for so many years has dementia. So I've kind of set back a little bit. I'm not taking on as much. I'm not traveling for business coaching or speaking. I'm staying in Cincinnati and coaching, and I'll do virtual conversations. And I've got a handful of virtual coaching thing that I do right now is just to have conversations to help people clear their head and get more clarity of where they want to be and some steps that they can do to move forward.
That's beautiful. So thank you again. And I'll see you next time on Think Outside the Boss.
Thank you so much. And I hope everybody has a great day.
Thanks for listening. If you liked something from this episode, hit share and send it to a friend or fellow leader. Don't forget to follow the show and leave a review because it helps leaders like you find us faster. This episode of Think Outside the Boss was produced by Volt Productions. I'll see you next week. And until then, keep moving forward.